This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. Staffing shortages and healthcare vacancies continue to plague the province. The latest concerns being raised are in Roblin. People there are worried about how physician shortages are affecting care at the town's hospital. The Western Manitoba community is down to one doctor, and there are gaps in coverage in the emergency department. As CBC's Josh Crabb reports, people are looking for longer-term solutions to address their needs.
In September 2020, Premier Wab Kinew was opposition leader when he took part in a healthcare rally in Roblin, Manitoba. People were calling on the former Progressive Conservative government and the province to fix staffing shortages at the town's hospital. Fast forward 4 years, and the Western Manitoba community is once again facing gaps in ER coverage. There's only one doctor working there, and the lone physician has time off. Sean Keeler is the president of the board of directors for the clinic in Roblin. He says Kinew brought a message of hope during that rally, and people want to see change now that he's premier.
Kind of one thing he kind of said was, what I took out is that, communities like Roblin will not be forgotten. And right now we're feeling a little bit forgotten.
Manitoba Health Minister Uzoma Asseguara says the government has made progress to bring doctors back to communities like Roblin. Asseguara says the community will be getting a new permanent physician by September 2025. Trina Slate, the CEO of the area's health region, says Prairie Mountain Health is working closely with the newly established Provincial Recruitment and Retention Office and the Roblin Physician Recruitment Committee to ensure residents of Roblin have appropriate access to quality care. A permanent doctor is slated to start in the community next year, but physician recruitment efforts are ongoing to find a physician to start sooner. The town of Carberry's ER is also facing gaps in coverage, but Mayor Ray Muirhead says it's an improvement from when the ER was closed indefinitely in 2023. It took a lot of advocacy and work with the health region and the province, but eventually the situation improved.
And ultimately we ended up with 2 full-time doctors. So we are in I would say, a good spot right now. It's never perfect. It's never as optimum as what you would like.
Roblin is hoping for similar success. The town's doctor recruitment committee is trying to attract physicians, but with demand so high, it's proving to be a challenge. Josh Crabb, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Workers at Canada's National Postal Service have officially walked off the job, including here in Manitoba. The strike will impact millions of Canadians from coast to coast. The CBC's Alana Cole reports.
Early Friday morning, Canada Post workers were on the picket line in Winnipeg.
We want a better contract. We want a contract for all workers to be able to improve our lives and our working conditions.
Workers went on strike at midnight. The Canadian Union of Postal Workers says roughly 55,000 people are off the job across the country.
We want to improve health and safety. We want to improve our benefits. We want to remove or get Canada Post to stand back on their new delivery model.
Another key issue, wages. Canada Post says part of their offer includes wage increases at 11.5% over 4 years. The union wants 22%. Talks for a new contract started a year ago. Negotiations were still happening Friday. Today, Canada Post spokesperson John Hamilton was asked about concerns people could start relying on other services.
Ever since the union put out their strike mandate on October 25th, our parcel volumes have been in decline. Last week alone, as we were still talking, our parcel volumes were down 28%. That's 1.3 million parcels that went to the competition because we can't provide certainty. Now we're shut down and the unions put a close sign in our facilities. So we need to ensure we can get back to the table, which we are. But the unions decided to take a national strike, which is an aggressive action. That's their choice. But they've shut down postal service for Canadians at a time when they need us, at a busy time, and it's just going to worsen our situation, and that's just the reality.
The Retail Council of Canada says the strike will impact both businesses and consumers.
A lot of Canadians do online shopping, and a lot of Canadians rely on Canada Post to get those goods to them in time for the holidays. And Canada Post is the largest and one of the more cost-effective solutions for retailers of all sizes.
For now, both sides have agreed benefit checks like the Canada Child Benefit and Old Age Security will be mailed out. Alana Cole, CBC News, Winnipeg.
If you're expecting a direct deposit to a credit union account today, you'll have to wait. Prairie credit unions in Manitoba are experiencing a network outage for automated deposits like paychecks and payments. They say they're working to get the issue resolved. In the meantime, they say any auto-scheduled deposits or payments will be retried in 24 hours. Any loan payments or other services that are automatically withdrawn on your credit union account will not be processed. There will be no NSF fines while the outage is being dealt with. Credit and debit cards are not impacted. The University of Winnipeg is scrambling to find millions of dollars after the number of new international students paying tuition was cut by 34%. As the CBC's Ian Fraze reports, the university is cutting back in an area that may hurt students.
The federal government's new cap on international students has lost the University of Winnipeg around $4 to $5 million this year. So that's forced the university to put an end to some hiring.
I think the mood is pretty grim on campus these days.
A classics professor, Peter Miller, says the hiring freeze is limiting faculty.
I don't think that I can necessarily have the same types of assignments I would have had in mind without some sort of marketing support.
Annie says students will miss out on opportunities.
Undergraduate students get this experience as a teaching assistant very early. It can be really important for them.
The university's reined in spending in other ways. A memo to staff shows U of W cutting the budget for non-salary account lines by 7%. The new federal cap was meant to stop small private colleges from taking advantage of international arrivals and bring relief to the biggest housing markets. But other provinces are feeling the impact. Tamiris Kaliva is with U of W's student union.
So I think we're all worried about the future right now, especially the tuition, how it will reflect on the tuition for international and domestic students.
At the University of Manitoba, tuition revenues from new international students dropped by $7.5 million.
We don't fully make that up, ever. We adjust to it.
The university prepared by limiting spending, but Michael Benarosh warned it's not ending anytime soon.
Decision makers at all levels are being very cautious.
A spokesperson for the provincial government wouldn't make any promises about funding increases, but said the province is in talks about university budgets for next year. Ian Fraze, CBC News, Winnipeg.
A Manitoba-based pool manufacturer has been charged with multiple counts of fraud after allegedly swindling people out of thousands of dollars. RCMP say Kurt Whidden has been under investigation since 2023 following numerous fraud complaints about his company, 17 Pools Inc. According to the company's website, it turns shipping containers into swimming pools and was featured on HGTV. RCMP claimed customers paid for but never received the products. Victims are located across North America. Whitten has been charged with 9 counts of fraud greater than $5,000. These allegations haven't been tested in court. A previous CBC Marketplace investigation found dozens of lawsuits against the 50-year-old, with some customers claiming they were out tens of thousands of dollars. A man in his 20s is recovering in hospital after a shooting in the Corridon area. It happened around 9:30 Wednesday night. Police received what they say were numerous reports about the sounds of shots being fired around Corridon and Arbuthnot. Officers found a victim with serious injuries in the 700 block of McMillan. He was rushed to hospital in critical condition, but was later upgraded. Police say a firearm was recovered in the area, adding this does not appear to have been a random shooting. And Riley Lachuk in now. Riley, big weekend here for our Bombers. They are in Vancouver. People wanting to know, what's the weather going to be like?
In Vancouver, chance of showers as we get through the day on Sunday for the Grey Cup. Bit rainy this weekend. Pretty much the same here. Add in some snow for parts of Westman, which I'll get into in your long-range forecast and your short-term. 3s today for the Parkland region, 5 in Dauphin, 8s for both Brandon and Winnipeg. Pretty nice day out there. Some sun, some clouds today. We're starting to see the cloud build back in as we get into the evening hours here. This is ahead of what will be our next weather maker, a Colorado low that will sweep in from the States, bringing some snow to parts of Westman through the day tomorrow. More of a rain event for us in the Red River Valley. Nonetheless, a bit of a soggy Saturday ahead. 2 degrees overnight tonight, mostly cloudy in Winnipeg. Winds northeast 15, gusting 30. 2 degrees first thing in the morning as well. We're looking at a mostly cloudy start to the day as we see that cloud building in through the overnight period tonight. And then through the afternoon hours, we see showers starting to begin. Southeast winds 15, gusting to 30, looking at a high of 6 degrees. We'll talk about that all-important Santa Claus parade forecast in a little bit as well.
It is a big weekend. Thanks, Riley.
You're welcome.
Go Bombers! Winnipeg Blue Bomber fans have arrived in Vancouver ahead of the Grey Cup Championship on Sunday. Coming up, we'll check in with our Gavin Axelrod, who's been speaking to fans all day ahead of the excitement. Stay with us. Well, if you're a Winnipegger or a fan of any of the city's sports teams, you've had plenty to cheer about lately. On the ice, the Jets have had a record-setting start to the season. Well, on the football field, the Blue Bombers are in their 5th straight Grey Cup game this weekend. Cameron McIntosh has more on the excitement in the Peg.
In front, they score!
A record-setting start. The Winnipeg Jets are the fastest NHL team to reach 15 wins, ever, and sit first overall. While in the CFL, the Blue Bombers are getting a 5th straight shot at the Grey Cup. That's a lot of winning.
This is Winnipeg Sports Talk.
For Winnipeg sports podcasters Andrew Hustler-Patterson and Michael Remus, it's been a lot to handle.
The Jets to be doing what they're doing, the Bombers to be on the precipice of a Cup championship. It's a special time for Winnipeg sports fans.
I mean, these are things that we may not see for a long time.
Down the field, wide open!
Earlier this year, both runs seemed improbable. The Bombers started 0-4. Their season looked lost, but they got rolling, all the way to another Grey Cup appearance. But that comes with its own pressure. They've won 2 and lost 2. Win a third, it's a dynasty. Lose a third, it's a disappointment. Winnipeg's coach feels it.
Yeah, it means everything. Still. Absolutely.
On the ice, the Jets are currently leading the NHL in wins, defying expectations after a disappointing playoffs. There's still a lot of season ahead, but, say hockey analysts, the Jets look elite.
You've got to have some breaks and some luck that goes your way, but generally I think they've earned everything they've gotten at the beginning of the year. They've had a lot of games they've deserved to win.
Fans certainly relishing it all. Neil Einerson proudly wearing the colors of both teams.
It's not going to last forever, so we have to enjoy every moment of it.
And happy times in Rodney and Shauna Legault's Sports Den basement, with the understanding no one has really won anything yet.
This year is just phenomenal so far, so fingers crossed that it keeps going.
Still, a great time to be living and cheering in the moment.
Go Bombers! Go Jets! Woo!
Cameron McIntosh, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Well, that excitement is continuing in Vancouver tonight, where Winnipeg Blue Bomber fans have landed ahead of Sunday's big Grey Cup match. And that's where our Gavin Axelrod is tonight. And Gavin, what have you been seeing and hearing from fans so far?
Well, Brittany, as you can probably see behind me, fans have converged here around the Vancouver Convention Center. That's because there's a lot of things like activities and fun things for people to do. Some of those include team parties. There's even a zip line that's been a popular attraction. Now, earlier today, we spoke to some fans here about how they're feeling and who they're rooting for ahead of Sunday's game. There's no shortage of blue and gold in Vancouver, but much like the players on the team they're cheering for, these fans are looking for something to celebrate Sunday night.
Go Bombers!
The Winnipeg Blue Bombers look to win their 3rd Grey Cup in 5 seasons. Some fans are confident the team will win.
We will win, and we bought these tickets way back in March with the pre-sale, and we just wanted to be here so bad.
Others are a little more cautious.
I don't put the cart before the horse. That's all I gotta say.
Superstitious?
Oh, definitely. You never know.
Standing in Winnipeg's way of putting a stamp on what some might call a dynasty are the Toronto Argonauts. They'll be without starting quarterback Chad Kelly in Sunday's Grey Cup game, but that's not fazing the team's supporters.
I love the fact that there's more Bombers fans here. More tears at the end of the day.
You know what, they're entitled to their opinion, but I love being the underdog, and you know what, everybody's pulling for the underdog, and that might just push them through again too.
And some with no skin in the game are finding a new team for the weekend, like this Montreal Alouettes fan whose team was booted from the playoffs by Toronto, missing out on a chance to repeat as Grey Cup champions.
I would not be a self-respecting Montrealer if I did not pick for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. I will never, ever, under any circumstance, including violence, pick for any Toronto team, certainly not the Argonauts.
But no matter what team these fans are rooting for, one thing they can all agree on is that the CFL's biggest event of the year has been a hit. And they're ready to party, even the youngest of them. What are you looking forward to the most?
The tailgating club.
He wants a good tailgate. Love that. We saw that zip line, so hope to see you on that soon, Gavin. But last night, I want to touch on this. Some history was made. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's right, Brittany. Winnipeg Blue Bombers running back Brady Oliveira won Most Outstanding Canadian and Most Outstanding Player awards. That makes him the 4th player ever in the league's history to win both of those awards in the same season. He's also the first Manitoban ever to win the CFL's Most Outstanding Player award. Now, Oliveira says the success he's having with his hometown team is a bit surreal.
The fact that I'm up here, like I said, with the 2 most prestigious awards in this league, representing my city, representing the Winnipeg Blue Bombers organization and all my teammates, it's insane, man. It's insane.
Now, both teams are going to have a walkthrough tomorrow at BC Place. It's their last chance to get some final tune-ups in before Sunday's big game, and that's when we will see them on the field next when they compete for the Grey Cup. Brittany.
All right, thank you so much, Gavin. All right, well, everybody's been waiting to find out a little bit about what they can expect for that weather. We know there's going to be some rain here. And Riley, what can we expect for, well, we got the Santa Claus Parade Saturday and the game on Sunday.
We'll start with the Grey Cup forecast, Brittany, for Vancouver. I mean, we are looking at some precipitation here in southern Manitoba. For our forecast Sunday, we're looking at sunny skies in southern Manitoba. But as that game starts at 3 o'clock Pacific, 5 o'clock Central, we are looking at a mostly cloudy sky, a few showers to the afternoon in Vancouver on Sunday, light northwest winds at 10 and 7 degrees by the time we get to the afternoon hours. So, big picture, here's what's going on. You can see this area of low pressure to the south of us, this Colorado low that's going to begin sweeping northeastward as we get into the weekend. Here's the remnants of that snow that moved through parts of northern Manitoba yesterday, still working its way off over the Hudson Bay coast. So overnight tonight, places like Churchill, Shamattawa, Gillam looking at a few more flurries, but starting the day here on Saturday, you can start to see some cloud building in already. So a mainly cloudy day ahead tomorrow. Into the west, though, places like Brandon, through the Duck, the Riding Mountains, looking at some snow. And we will see temperatures really by the first part of the morning into the freezing mark territory. So give or take a couple of degrees on either side of zero. So a lot of this most likely falling as snow as we get through the day on Saturday, but really will be temperature dependent just how much accumulation we see through the day. On the east side of that low, mainly a rain event. I know the Santa Claus Parade happening about 5 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday. Most of the forecast model runs have been pushing the start of the rain back a little bit in Winnipeg, so we might just see a cloudy sky, but I do have a good chance of some showers to the afternoon hours for Winnipeg. Tomorrow into Sunday, we see the rest of that precipitation sweeping off. Good chance, I think, we'll see a couple of flurries first thing in the morning Sunday for Winnipeg, and then we very quickly clear behind that back to a mainly sunny sky for the rest of the day Sunday. Bit of cloud starts to build in Monday again ahead of another system that'll impact us by mid next week. So talking snowfall accumulations first, I'm saying a general 2 to 4 centimeters to the Westman region, especially around the Riding Mountain, the Duck Mountains. We could see a few more centimeters of snow, more like that 5 to 10 centimeter range by the time we get into the early part of Sunday is what I'm trying to say here. General 2 to 5 millimeters of rain for parts of southern and southeastern Manitoba as we get through the day Saturday into Sunday as well. So I've got Winnipeg at 6 tomorrow, 3 with a mix of sun and clouds, a chance of morning flurries on Sunday. Tuesday, Brittany, is what I'm calling our change day. We start the day at 4, drop to 0 with some rain changing to snow by the time we get to the afternoon hours. And then temperatures more like this staying around as we get into the 7-day forecast.
It's good luck with the Jets for the whiteout, so maybe it'll be good luck for the Bombers.
Exactly. Let's hope.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We have much more to come after this short break. Stay with us. Ottawa is putting more money toward bringing high-speed internet to remote communities in Manitoba. The new $38 million announcement adds to the investments the federal government has made to bring broadband to all Canadian households by 2030. As CBC's Arturo Chang reports, the province is lagging behind much of the country when it comes to access to the hyperspace.
We must make sure that everyone has access to high-speed internet.
Northern Affairs Minister Dan Bandal made the announcement Friday. The $38 million will go towards 4 internet projects, all run by community members.
These are Indigenous-led companies, owned by Indigenous companies by themselves, First Nations people. This is a new way of doing business.
Just over 85% of Manitoba households are connected to high-speed internet. That's way behind most of the country. The federal government projects numbers in the province will go up to 95% next year. The new cash injection will fund fiber and fixed wireless projects in Northern First Nations, connecting thousands of households by late 2026.
Our education program will be able to provide distant education, telehealth, and everything, like rather than even transporting patients to come to Winnipeg for appointments is a nightmare.
David Muswagon with Pimicikamak Cree Nation says it's a game changer.
We'll be able to have a robust system that's going to allow our people and the users and the businesses and the organizations to have good quality communication infrastructure at their fingertips.
Muswagon says service won't be free, but it will be much more affordable than what the big companies offer. Arturo Chang, CBC News, Winnipeg.
You see them near school zones, construction zones, and playgrounds. They're also at intersections throughout the city. The locations where police can use photo radar cameras to snag speeding drivers are set out in provincial legislation, which is now more than 2 decades old. But the chair of the Winnipeg Police Board says it's time the program expanded.
Back in 2001, areas like Sage Creek and Waverly West and Canterbury Trails and Amber Trails didn't exist. So it's about expanding the program to ensure that those areas are included on the regional roads, and then looking at other areas.
This is not the first time city officials have called on the province to update its legislation. Former police chief Danny Smythe spoke openly about how the technology prescribed by the law is out of date.
If you look at your cell phone from 2001 to current date, it's completely been changed.
A review of the program was set to be conducted in 2019, but the COVID-19 pandemic derailed those plans. The program has faced opposition from community groups who accused police of using the technology as a cash grab. Winnipeg Mayor Scott Gillingham says the focus needs to be on improving safety.
The city needs to work with the province and MPI to get the data to see where the infrastructure, the intersections that are not safe, and identify those places as primary candidates to try to improve safety. And if using photo radar is a way to improve safety, then I'm all for it.
Chambers says drivers need to be aware when they enter a reduced speed zone.
It's not a cash grab. It's about the safety of our residents, our children in the school zones, our seniors, our cyclists, and making sure that the road can be shared equitably by everyone.
A spokesperson for Transportation and Infrastructure Minister Lisa Naylor says the province is ready to work with the city to determine the best way forward. Cameron McLean, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Transcona City Councilor Russ Wyatt refuses to apologize after a report found he made offensive comments about the city's former CAO. An outside investigation by the City of Edmonton's Integrity Commissioner found Wyatt breached the city's code of conduct on several points with comments about then CAO Michael Jack. Wyatt called for Jack to be fired and in a media interview said it was to remove some of the, quote, dead wood in senior management. Jack alleged that amounted to public harassment. Wyatt says he's disappointed in the findings.
I am not going to apologize. No way. I did nothing wrong. I did nothing. I basically spoke to the public about the fact that we need to have better accountability and transparency at City Hall. And that accountability is still not in effect, in my opinion.
For his part, Michael Jack has declined comment. Advocates for Brandon's downtown say the district is seeing a resurgence. The Brandon Downtown Development Corporation says the core is the strongest it's been since COVID-19. Chelsea Kemp has more.
Corey Tremblay organizes Pokemon cards at his store. He recently moved his shop from the suburbs to Brandon's downtown core. He says a couple of years ago, a move like that would have been unimaginable because of the district's notorious reputation. But things are changing with the supports available to businesses like his.
Big improvements over the last few years, and our growth over the last few years as well has been that 5-10 years ago we would have been not big enough for the space we're in now, and downtown might not have had quite the glow up that it's, I think, experienced in the last 5 years.
Emmy Sanderson is the executive director of Brandon's Downtown Biz. She says they've seen their membership increase by more than 110 businesses since January. Sanderson says they need this growth because downtown's density makes it a critical tax base for the city.
A healthy downtown has such a strong tax base that it feeds the whole city. Right? So if you have a healthy downtown, there's just that much more money to support every neighborhood in the city.
Brandon's Downtown Development Corporation says they've seen a 7% increase in businesses opening up shop in 2024. Sanderson says these businesses are encouraging more foot traffic in the core so people can see how it is changing. She hopes it inspires others to invest in what she calls the heart of the city. Chelsea Kemp, CBC News, Brandon.
Tonight, the Fifth Estate revisits the Coutts, Alberta blockade of 2022. It came amid the turmoil of the COVID convoy protest. But in Coutts, police and prosecutors alleged that violence was being planned. The Fifth Estate's Stephen D'Souza has this preview.
When the elites win, we all lose, and we'll all be in a concentration camp then. Just like it was in Germany.
This is the first time CBC can show you this video. That's Tony Olenek, arrested during the Coutts blockade in 2022, and Chris Carbert, two of the men accused at the time of conspiring to murder RCMP officers.
I'm probably too deep down the rabbit hole, but it scares me.
The Fifth Estate obtained evidence photos and viewed just some of the arsenal police seized, and viewed Tony Olenek's journal, where he wrote about a coming apocalypse. But it's the videos that really show how conspiracy theories and far-fetched scenarios fueled the men's actions.
So then what happens is the UN comes, which is Chinese troops. And there is an imminent invasion of Chinese troops on Canadian and American soil.
Throughout the case, the men's supporters called them political prisoners. As police alleged, they were armed for a shootout.
I don't like Trudeau. Yeah, I don't like him. I'd like to see him hanged. Sure, that'd be perfect. He needs to be tried for treason.
A jury found the men not guilty of conspiracy to murder police officers, but guilty of weapons possession and mischief. The men said they were only there to defend, not attack.
You will not find anything that's planning on doing something. I can guarantee you that.
This was treated as a standard series of street-level crime. Because of that, they've gotten away fairly lightly, in my opinion.
This criminologist says the case is a wake-up call for police and the courts.
This case provides a glimpse into our kind of a scary future for us, that if we don't get a handle of online self-radicalization and extremism, people's lives are at risk.
The men were sentenced to 6.5 years. 2 other men pleaded guilty to lesser charges. In handing down the sentence, the judge said that Carbert and Olenek intentionally armed for a shootout with police. He also called their claim of self-defense nebulous and fanciful. Both the defense and the Crown are appealing, and both declined our interview requests. Stephen D'Souza, CBC News, Toronto.
Help may be on the way for hundreds, perhaps thousands of people who've been holed up at the bottom of an old gold mine in South Africa without food or other vital supplies for weeks. A About 2 kilometers down this abandoned mine shaft are an untold number of illegal miners. Their anxious families waiting above want them to come up. But if they do, police have said they'll be arrested as part of a government crackdown on illegal mining that began 3 months ago. Most exits were sealed off, supplies to the illegal miners blocked. But after a government delegation visited the site this afternoon, officials said a rescue mission would be launched likely next week, though it's still not clear if the people below will face any charges. Political leaders in Lebanon are asking Iran to help secure a ceasefire in the fight between Israel and Hezbollah. The request comes as Israel continues to attack targets in Beirut. This strike happened 50 minutes after an Israeli warning to evacuate the area. Israel says the apartment building contained facilities belonging to Hezbollah, a group sponsored by Iran. It's unclear if anyone was killed. The famous portrait of Winston Churchill, known as the Roaring Lion, is back in its rightful place. The photograph by Canadian Yusuf Karsh was stolen from the Fairmont Chateau Laurier in Ottawa during the pandemic.
The fact that it's here, the goosebumps were back. This is for the world to see, and I'm just beyond proud.
The hotel says an employee noticed a few years ago that the matching photo in the chateau was a fake. That began an international hunt that led them to Genoa, Italy, where a man had purchased the original through an auction house in London. The buyer had no idea he'd bought a stolen piece of Canadian history and gave it back. Sharing the road. How do we actually make that a safe reality for people in Winnipeg? Coming up, we hear from the mayor after 3 pedestrians were hit by cars in the span of 12 hours. Stay with us. The City of Winnipeg has been studying the idea of better ways for cyclists to safely commute in this city for decades. Today, Mayor Scott Gillingham spoke with Information Radio's Marcy Marcusa about prioritizing a safer way forward.
Reality is we are making significant record investments in cycling and pedestrian infrastructure. In fact, we have $80 million set aside in our budget over the next several years for pedestrian and cycling infrastructure. We made significant investments this year in getting more separated bike lanes. The more we can separate motorists, like vehicles from bikes, the better it is as well.
You did run on this idea. I mean, that's the push from Patty there. In 2022, you promised to eliminate gaps in sidewalk and cycling networks, upgrade the roadwork priority formula to be more equitable, and design and make changes to ensure safety features for pedestrians and cyclists are being planned. That was quoted from then. To the
and if I may, and we're doing that. Like I won't read it off, but I have a whole list here today I can read off of the investments we've made on roads right now, where we've added separated lanes, added more sidewalks, made it safer, added a road safety team as well. So we're making those investments.
Why not slow it down, period? Why not go to 30K everywhere? Because as I said, I mean, I have talked to I looked back yesterday, Mayor Glenn Murray, Mayor Cates, Mayor Bowman, yourself. Like, we have been talking about this in Winnipeg since the 1970s about how to improve infrastructure. So if people are saying that speed is part of this conversation, the motion from Sherry Rowlands, the councillor this week, people yesterday saying, Patty's example was her e-bike can go 30. So for her, like, that's a significant thing that you would feel safer if it were slowed down. Is that a possibility? I was reading your Winnipeg Road Safety Strategic Action Plan. I know you have pilot projects, but are you considering citywide looking at slower speed limits like that?
There is a report that has analyzed that's coming back. It's not ready yet, but it is coming back to take a look at the results of the pilot projects. We've done and are doing pilot projects of 30 or 40 kilometers in different areas of the city. I was part of one when I was a city councillor in St. James. There's an area there that has been slowed down to 30 in a neighborhood. And so we're waiting on that report to come back. And then we're going to have the broader discussion ultimately as a council and as a community about whether to reduce speed limits within residential areas. But we have been trying some pilot projects here, and whatever the outcome of that is, though, I think the message has got to be the same to motorists: is we are sharing the road with cyclists and pedestrians. So no matter the speed limit, that principle remains. We have to be aware as we're driving.
Cynics say that part of why this hasn't happened in Winnipeg is because politicians, and I'm just going to say it bluntly, need the vote for motorists, and that we live in a city that has a lot of winter and we're primarily a car city still. And then that's why what keeps getting in our way of making the leap to be actually a city that has better active transportation routes and investments in infrastructure. What are your thoughts on that? Well,
again, I would say I'll let the financial record speak for itself as far as how much we have and are investing in cycling. And you know, Patty is right. I've cycled with Patty before. I'm a cyclist. I don't cycle as much as Patty does, but I cycle on a regular basis. And so I too have had incidents where it's close calls with motorists.
But Patty wants you to say no to widening Kenaston and put money into spending all that on bikes, right?
Well, the project, the Kenaston is a series of projects. First of all, including the largest portion of that is replacing the bridge over the Assiniboine, which must be done. There is work there that has to be done.
So that's a non-starter. Taking the money from that for you. Okay.
So we have to have that discussion, and that's a future discussion as well with the federal and provincial governments getting on board with that. But there is a report coming back that is analyzing speed limits within residential areas across the city.
Riley is back now. Riley, I dragged my butt out early, got to the gym, took the dog for a walk, even in the fog and the cold. But I'd like to do it tomorrow without the fog, if you can manage that.
No fog in the forecast. I know it just kind of sprung up on us early this morning. Nothing in the forecast for tonight, but we will look at maybe some flurries Sunday morning.
Oh, okay. Well, I'd rather the fog.
Okay.
Can we go back?
Might be, might be a bit wet, especially if you're taking your cat for a walk.
Oh boy. All right.
Some people do that.
Okay.
Here's your cat walking forecast for Saturday. Tonight, we have Vincent. Thanks, Rob, for sending this picture. And a very cute black cat. Talkback at cbc.ca is where you can send your photos to, where I'd love to see him. So we're starting the day at 2 degrees tomorrow in Winnipeg. Sunny breaks as we get through the afternoon hours. A good chance of showers developing as we get through the later afternoon, certainly into the evening hours. A bit of wet weather rolling in, and 5 degrees by supper time. Sun setting now at 4:42 in the afternoon. Last supermoon of 2024 can now be visible. Donna sent this in of the Beaver supermoon that was taken today. Thank you for sending this picture. And if you've captured it anywhere in Manitoba, if you're able to see it, because I know we'll see some cloud building in, talk back at cbc.ca. That's also where you can send those pictures to me as well. And you can see on satellite, we've already started to see some of that cloud cover starting to build in. So through the overnight hours, we are looking at a cloudier night ahead. Temperatures staying above zero. That cloud acting as a little bit of a blanket, keeping things relatively warm through the overnight period. So 2s through the Red River Valley, 1s through the Westman region. We see some of that shower activity and light snow starting overnight tonight. -2 in the Pas. The best chance of some fog through parts of north and north central Manitoba tonight, -4 in Thompson, and some lingering light snow along the Hudson Bay coast. This is stubbornly just kind of hanging on here, and we're looking at that moving out as we get through the day. Saturday, right behind that, you can see that Colorado low already starting to make its way up into northern Manitoba. So by the afternoon hours, some flurries, some wet snow through Grand Rapids and Norway House, temperatures around the freezing mark. That snow and some of that wet rain have already started as we get through the morning hours tomorrow, even some mixing through the western part of the province through the afternoon hours, and then we'll start to see some of that swinging up into the Red River Valley as we get later into the day. I don't think this particular forecast model is depicting just how far east we'll see some of this rain, but we are looking at some rain nonetheless as we get through the later part of Saturday. Forecast into Sunday looks like this: 2 degrees for Swan River and Dauphin, a much brighter day across southern Manitoba, but we're looking at gusty northwesterly winds, 20 gusting 40 through the south. Could see some gusts, Brittany, up to 50 or even higher on Sunday afternoon.
Ooh, okay, thanks, Riley.
You're welcome.
A Quebec driver is expressing concern that features designed to improve safety on the roads might be having the opposite effect. Leah Hendry explains.
More and more vehicles have features like lane assist or emergency braking. They're there to compensate for driver inattention or error. But how safe are they?
Automatic emergency braking is a terrific feature, and it has absolutely a documented reduction in front to rear. Hit from behind collisions are down because of it. Lane keeping assist, less so.
Lane assist or lane centering uses cameras and sensors to detect lane markings, and the steering wheel is adjusted to keep the vehicle centered in its lane. Drivers still need to have their hands on the steering wheel, but it helps them steer and lets them relax a bit on longer drives. But this Quebec man says his Subaru overcompensated and forced him to swerve into another vehicle. Tobias Marzel was driving his 2021 Subaru Crosstrek on Highway 30 near Brossard when he noticed the steering wheel tugging him a bit to the left.
And all of a sudden, the steering wheel heading into a curve decided to jerk to the right heavily, and instantly I collided with the vehicle right on my right side.
Neither driver was hurt, but Marzel is at fault for roughly $10,000 in damage to his car and about the same amount of damage to the other driver's vehicle. Since 2020, Transport Canada has received 6 complaints that are related to the lane assist or lane departure function for different makes or models. And those complaints include things like error messages, not performing well in icy, snowy conditions, as well as abrupt steering corrections. The Canadian Automobile Association has not received any complaints related to the lane assist feature. But if it didn't result in a crash, drivers probably aren't going to report it.
Every system is programmed differently. Some are better than others. Some are really gentle in their, in this tugging and this, centering, whereas some give you that ping pong effect that is kind of disconcerting when you're not used to it.
Caron says this can happen when a car is passing heavy transport trucks that are traveling close to the center line. Your instinct is to give the truck a wider berth, but the system is programmed to keep you centered.
So that's why paying attention and having a keen eye still is very, very important on especially even on long drives.
Caron recommends that drivers familiarize themselves with the lane assist feature on their car when they buy it. He doesn't know what happened to Marzel's car, but he suspects that perhaps the cameras inside misinterpreted what they're seeing. He thinks it's going to be hard for him to prove that the car malfunctioned. After the accident, Marzel posted in a Subaru Facebook group about what happened, and it received more than 300 comments. One included an accident that was very similar to his, and others said that they had turned the feature off because they didn't like how it felt and found it was too aggressive. Marzel contacted Transport Canada, who flagged the case to Subaru Canada, and they sent an investigator to run some diagnostic tests on the car at the beginning of November.
I just don't trust it anymore. It's not something that I want to use, and my safety, I always want to be 100% in control of the car from now on.
Subaru Canada said it values the safety of its owners and all Canadians. They said this incident is being investigated. Transport Canada is in the process of creating regulations around these types of features.
It's that time. Thousands are expected to gather downtown Saturday for the Santa Claus parade. Will there be snow, rain? Riley breaks it all down after the break. Stay with us. Operation Red Nose is back for another holiday season, offering people a safe ride home after a night out. It will operate in 8 communities across the province this year, including Flin Flon, Thompson, Gimli, Steinbach, and Winnipeg. The safe ride services are free of charge, but donations are gladly accepted, with all proceeds going straight to community-based programs. Operation Red Nose in Winnipeg was initially at risk of shutting down after losing its longtime charity partner, but donors stepped up, raising $100,000 to get it back on the road. The service will run from November 29th to December 31st.
That leads us to the forecast for the Santa Claus parade, and yeah, our parade might get rained on a little bit as we get through the day on Saturday. I've got a good chance of showers as the block party and the parade are starting by 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I think that we will certainly see some wet weather as we get into the evening hours. It's just a matter of how late in the afternoon some of this rain starts to move in. So 6 degrees are high tomorrow, 7 for Monday. Those are the 2 warmest days of the 7-day forecast. I call Tuesday the change day because we're starting the day at 4, and then we drop to 0 by the time we hit the afternoon, with the rain changing over to snow. That leads us to a chance of flurries on Wednesday and temperatures that are much, much closer to seasonal for this time of the year, -1s and -2s by the end of next week. Well, Taylor Swift's Toronto era continues. The pop star played her first of 6 Eras Tour shows at the Rogers Centre yesterday.
Now, fans were filled with so much adrenaline, it was hard to shake it off. The tens of thousands who had their wildest dreams come true is our daily lift.
I cried as soon as I got out. I feel so excited.
She got us. She got us.
I'm like full of adrenaline.
Yeah, I'm like
right
really
now.
shocked. Like I'm just like, I just can't.
All of the stage props and the dancers and it was a whole theatrical performance, which was beyond what she's done in the past. Yeah, it was extraordinary.
It's the concert event of a generation.
You heard it there. A sea of Swifties flooded the city with friendship bracelets and sequins. She told the crowd last night she chose to close out her tour in Canada because of the welcoming and passionate fans.
So she also said her entire folklore album era reminds her of this country. Swift plays tonight and then 4 more shows after that before wrapping up the Toronto era next weekend and heading to Vancouver.
Those Swifties.
I know our producer Holly would love the scripting of that.
Oh my goodness, she was shaking it off. They had a good time in Toronto. Lots more to come. Have a wonderful weekend. Happy Santa Claus parade. Go Bombers, go.